At as you tune in every week, this is 5 weeks, 5 weeks of personal development, 5 weeks of leadership development. Okay, so this week is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence challenges us, emotional intelligence, it challenges us to compartmentalize our emotions. So think about it. As a leader, you have to have emotional management. Okay. So again, emotional management, be prepared as a leader. You have to take emotions out of a lot of things. If you take a lot of things personal and to heart, and anything anyone says that offends you, or caught you off guard, or your feelings are hurt often, most leaders cannot wear their feelings on their sleeve. Okay, so comment below, is that your experience? Leadership and personal development. Okay, this is week 2. Grab my book, Awaken the Leader from Within, talking about emotional management. So when you look at emotional management, and the book for today, this week, it really talks about the importance of understanding the value of being the best leader you can be. How do you manage your emotions? So think about it. When you are a leader and you get feedback from others, how do you take that feedback? I always encourage people that when you get feedback from other people in your personal life, at your job, whatever, consider it with your mind's eye. Do you take it to heart? Is it from someone who is a good leader themselves? Are they trying to get you to grow with that feedback? Or is it somebody who has the goal of bringing harm to you? Just because someone's in a leadership role does not mean that they deserve to be in that leadership role. Does not mean that they are a leader with upstanding values and morals, and someone who you admire and want to take after. That's not what all leaders are. It's great when there are leaders who you can honestly take to heart, listen to what they say, have a firm understanding of what leadership truly is. On the other hand, there's leaders that you can't listen to. You only can get their opinion, but as far as being able to hang your hat on the feedback they give, that's not always so. So, what are we experiencing now? So, think about what we're experiencing now as relates to how you can personally develop yourself and become the best leader you can be. All right. So, when you think about a leader. Think about the leader. Think about someone who has a big impression on your life. Think about someone who has an impact, who leader, okay, someone you admire. Last week we discussed finding a leader that is after your own interest. Who is that? Who would you say is someone that you totally admire and that you would not mind role modeling after? And I would let you know that some leaders are ethical, some leaders are not. Some people are honest, some people are not. Some people do not know how to treat others. But the reality is, if you are a leader, you have to be able to develop a mind and a brand for yourself. Okay. Branding, emotional intelligence is something that you have to develop. So let's dig a little more on what it means to be emotionally intelligent. So, emotional intelligence says, when a problem arises, when a problem occurs, what do my emotions do? Okay. As you get older, I would say you're better at managing. It may not be true. You may have used your whole life to kind of, as a buffer, deal with things, but not straight on. But emotional management comes when you get positive news, negative news, medium news. What do you do? So I'm going to tell you, get ready. I know it's in my book, so go ahead and grab my book if you have my book. Um, Go on to read chapter 2. Last week you had an activity to read, but this week it talks about the basics of leadership. This is the basics. This is why you get a book. It's free on Kindle if you subscribe to Kindle. If you don't subscribe to Kindle, you can purchase the book. But the key is, how do you emotionally handle handle situations that come your way? So, in the basics of leadership, I talk about the importance of, when a problem comes to you, or what type of leader, is to make a list. You want to make a list who you are influenced by. Make a list of your emotions. When you get good news or bad news, some people say, "Hey, do you want the good news or bad news first?" I say, just give it to me straight. Good news, bad news, it doesn't even matter. Give me the bad news first. So that way we end on a high note, right? So emotional management says, when you get bad news, if you're always trying to avoid, go ahead and get it straight. Give me the bad news, so then you can end on a high note. But let's say something occurred and you received some bad news. For instance, the stock market. The stock market has crashed 4 days in a row, I think they were saying, about the stock market, and to now look into what you're putting it in. And then certain stocks are determined by who is driving the stock. Okay. So if you're not into the stock market, it's interesting to watch. But the stock market is down for 4 days in a row, which will have an impact on the economy. So as a leader, you have to think about, what made the stock market change? What were the influences? You don't even have to be a guru. Just in your general knowledge, where you are now, what do you think made the stock market crash? What do you think is having influence on the stock market at this moment, at this day, at this whatever? What do you think is driving down the stock market? So these are some things you could emotionally think about. So when you get news and it says, "Oh my goodness, have you checked your 401k? How much is in there?" Okay. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Here's the reality. I have a couple of different, I don't believe in putting my eggs in all in one basket, right? You don't want to put all of your retirement in one basket. You want to put it in different areas. So as you put it in different areas, I realized, hey, one area is up really high, then conservative area. The other area is down very low. That was more aggressive. And why is that? What was it part of? So I started digging a little further, and I was like, what in the world is the difference between these two conservative stocks versus the ones that were aggressive? And it's because of what it was invested in. Okay. And so this goes back to your emotions. What are you invested in? The things that hurt our feelings the most, the things that hurt your feelings the most. Talking about emotional intelligence, the things that hurt your feelings the most is the things that are near and dear to your heart. Okay. I'll repeat that again. The things that hurt us the most, hey Tay, is the things that are nearest and dearest to our heart. So, for example, if someone in our family, our kids, our husband, our friends, say something to us that may hurt our feelings, but a stranger may say it and it may just roll off your back. Why is that? Why is it that when someone close to us, they can hurt our feelings so much, but someone far away can't? And the reason why is because those who are close to us, we value their opinion more. You value the opinion of your family, of your friends, but a stranger, whatever, they don't even know you to be able to provide that feedback, right? So when you're talking about emotional management, okay, compartmentalization of problems. So I'm also a Mary Kay representative. Yes, hey Mary Kay, I'm a Mary Kay representative. I'm also the president, what we call the bachelor's of my sorority local chapter. So in order to be in a leadership position, You cannot wear your feelings on your sleeves. If someone says something crazy to you, you may want to go out of pocket and say it back, but as a leader, you can't. You have to be diplomatic. You have to be able to give people feedback. I like many said this week, you got to sugarcoat some stuff, because if you don't sugarcoat it, people's feelings get hurt and then they want to act whatever. No, So as you grow as a leader, we're not talking about someone who's just on standby. You don't want a leader, you're just floating around. This is leadership and personal development. If you're going to be a leader, it's going to require more of you, more sacrificing of your emotions, more sacrificing of time, more sacrificing of self reflection, more sacrificing of doing what's best for the greater good. Now, here's the kicker. All leaders do not do that. All leaders don't self reflect. All leaders do not take it upon themselves to do what is best for the greater good. No, 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 no. We have some narcissist leaders. Okay. Anybody know any narcissist leaders? Anybody knows leaders who are not out for the greater good? Anyone know of leaders who do not take into consideration the people who are following them? Again, go back to emotional intelligence. There's a survey out there that you can take on emotional intelligence. Hey, thanks for joining. So, as you think about emotional intelligence, there are many out there who do not have the level of professionalism that it takes to be a leader. So my goal is to develop 50 to 100 leaders. So go on over to my webpage, look in my bio for the link to go to my YouTube at Leadership 101-22. My goal is to develop your leadership. So how do you develop emotional intelligence? Great question. Whenever you have a problem to figure out, make a list. Make a list. You don't have to make decisions instantly. Soon as a problem comes to you, you don't have to say, oh my goodness, let me problem solve it and solve it right now real quick, unless it requires you to solve it quick. But what you want to do instead is make a list. Hey, welcome. Make a list of your priorities, emotional management. Remember, we're talking about emotional intelligence. Okay. We want to make sure that in order to be emotionally intelligent, when a problem comes to you, write a list on what the problem is. Okay. Also, did you know that our mind works while we're sleeping? So if you write the problems down that you're trying to figure out, okay, before you go to sleep on a notepad, your mind, while you sleep, will work and figure it out. And it will figure out a solution, and it will problem solve while you sleep. Isn't that awesome? Our mind is, oh my goodness, our mind is so awesome. Okay. So, first step, write it down, write it down, write it down. Second is give yourself time to think about the solution to the problem. Remember, we're talking about emotional intelligence and being a leader. Leaders cannot act out of emotion, or let me say, a good leader, an awesome leader, a person who you want to lead, right? Don't act out of emotion. You take time, write it down, give yourself the space to think through the best resolution. Three, the third thing for emotional intelligence is give yourself a time frame. If you're someone who always flies off the handle, or people give you feedback like you never take time to think it through, or you are always this and that, then give yourself, again, write it down, space and time, and a time. If you find yourself always milling over a decision that you make for 3 or 4 or 5 days or a month, that's too much. When making a decision, especially a hard decision, give yourself the time and then let it go. You have to compartmentalize grief, anger, all that. Because I tell you what, grief is hard. Grief will have you down, depressed, in the dumps, not able to move nothing. You have to compartmentalize that thing. You have to say, okay, I'm going to give myself a day, 2 days, and then let me snap out of it while I work through it and keep coming back to a little bit at a time. You can, as a leader, you cannot allow your emotions to cripple the organization or whatever you're trying to build. Okay. So one thing I posted was about the Montgomery boy boycott. Do you realize that boycott of not taking the bus lasted over a year? Over 1 year, more than 365 days. Okay. So as a leader, compartmentalize, time frame, write it down, and there's no time frame to leading and doing the right thing. If you're leading your organization and you're in a hard spot right now, or you can't figure it out, don't give up. Remind yourself the boycott, and we talked about having a boycott on this Friday, February 28th. Don't go buy anything. That's a start. But we have to continue and be mindful of where we spend our dollars, where we impact the economy. Again, going back to the discussion about the stock market, it crashed. The stock market crashed. Why? Why did the stock market crash? If you look at the predictions from last year, November, December, there's no prediction that the stock market would crash. Now, in January, they did start talking of how stocks may move around, but 1 out of every 6 stocks lost money. Okay. So, this is the fourth day that the stock market is down. Why? Comment below, share your thoughts and feelings, say hello. Why do you think the stock market is down? What do you think about the current leaders of your job? What do you think about the current leaders of the country? What do you think about the current leaders? And then here's another challenge. You may not be involved in the stock market, but think about go and see which stock is owned by who. Go see who owns the stock. Look at the leaders in charge. Go look at their companies. See if their companies are overperforming, meaning are they in the green or are they in the red? Because one thing about the stock market is the stock market is based on the belief of do we have confidence in this leader, of this person leading the company to do well in the future or to do not as well. So I'm going to leave it to you. And I'll say this, there was an email that was sent out by one of the people that stocks was going up really high. Okay. There was an email sent out this past weekend, and it was a micromanagement email. Okay. And the email asked employees that was not their employee, but they asked employees to send in 5 things that they accomplished last week. And they sent it on a Saturday, right? Okay, go do your research. And so most people don't like to be micromanaged. Most people do not like when people come in and start bullying their way in. And money talks, right? So go take a look at the stock market. Go and see how the stock is performing for the person who sent out the email asking 5 things that you did. So if you don't know what email was sent, I would encourage you to go out and do some research. Okay. I don't want no triggers on this here application coming for me. So I would just say, go do your research, and I even posted on my page as a comedy. But go look. And so when we have emotional management, you got to remember followership is parallel to leadership. This class is leadership, personal development, leadership, and followership. I wrote my dissertation on followership. Leaders are only as good as the followers. Once the followers stop believing in the vision of the leader, then the followers will leave and no one will be the leader will not be able to stand. Followership it has more impact on leadership than the actual leadership. So followership, I'm sure I'm gonna do another course on that or a course on that, because as a leader, you have to be able to have that emotional intelligence. So the book for this week again is Awaken the Leader from Within. My book located on Amazon, and also The Power of Purpose. I'm sorry, The Purpose of Power by Lisa Garza. She was the co-author, she co-created the Black Lives Matter movement. And when you read that story, it talks about the importance of unifying the community. Okay. So the second point for tonight is unifying the community. Okay. How, with you as a leader, emotional management, how do you unify the community? The number one thing about unifying the community is ensuring that you have the same goal in mind. So, with the Black Lives Matter movement, the unification was we are standing to ensure that people know that Black people have value. Black Lives Matter, we all know someone copywrote that message who was not the original founder, took over their identity. There's a whole story behind that. But the key is you should go read that book, because right now you are called for a time as this to lead. Whether you're voluntarily going to lead or someone is telling you to lead, this is the time we need you. We need you to lead. So, like, subscribe to this page, go and check out my syllabus for this class. This is the second out of 5-week course. So, leadership, we need you to lead. We need you. If you happen to stop by my page for this Hillman University TikTok University, whatever you want to call it, leadership, that means that God is calling you. You are being called to be the next leader in the community because we need you. This is the time that we have to get leaders. Okay, so in the civil rights movement, how did they choose a leader? Do you know how they chose a leader? Go read the book. Read my book. So the reading for the week talks about the power of the community. The way leaders are chosen from the community is that the leaders or the people following have to believe that you are the person who can lead them. They have to be charismatic. They have to be excited. They have to be able to convince you and others to believe in them. Okay. Leaders have to be able to say what other people may not say. We're going to read Malcolm X's book. We did it last week, read Malcolm X's book, okay? But what was the difference between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King? What was the difference? Comment below. What was the difference between Malcolm X leadership style and Martin Luther King? What was the difference? Comment, say, spill it. What was the difference? The major difference between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X is the way how they led their people. Okay. Malcolm X, as we know, said by any means necessary. By any means necessary, will we protect the community? Will we fight for justice? Will we stand up for what's right? If they have violence, we have violence back. If they smack you, you smack them back. Okay? Ain't no turning the other cheek. It's whatever they do to you, you do to them. Martin Luther King was like, no matter what, be peaceful. Let the dog sick you. Let the fire hose go. We will fight with our money by withholding money. We will fight by boycotting. We will fight by marching. We will show them we are nonviolent. Okay. So, what does the leader look like today? That leader looks like you. So, I would think I'm not gonna say what kind of leader I am. If you know me, comment below. I would say right now we're doing a good combination of both leaders, quite honestly. As I look at the society, as I look at what we're about to do is boycott, right? Peaceful protests, silent protests, protests with your money, but also there was a group of people in a part of the country I can't remember, and they were hanging up Nazi signs and protesting and saying all this foolishness. The community did not stand by and just say, "Oh my goodness, we're going to be nonviolent and walk right on by." No, no, no. They went, took down the signs and said, "This is our community. You will not bring foolishness in this community." And guess what? If you think you're going to bring the negative hatred into our community, not today. Now, they still protested peacefully, but it just wasn't as hands off. And so in the videos, they showed those people who were spreading hatred running away, while those who were fighting for the community stayed and protected their ground. And so I think what we have now is a middle ground. What do you think? What do you think the current leader, or put it down there, is there one leader for the Black community? Is there one leader that is standing up amongst the community? What are your thoughts? Comment below. Who is currently leading the fight? Who's the leader? One thing I love about TikTok is that I love the new 2520 that's going around, 2520. I tagged it in my thing. So if you don't know what 2520 is, go and look, okay? Because many things are happening in our community that need to go back to what it was during the civil rights era, when we're literally fighting for the rights within our community to have fair and equal access, to have fair and equal treatment, to ensure that basic rights are not taken away, to ensure that people speak up, right? And so what I would challenge you is, as we think about leadership, personal development, what does a leader look like? Who is the leader for the community? You are. Again, if you're stopping by to say hello, you are the leader that we need in the community. It's no longer just one person leading the charge, it's many people leading the charge in various areas. So as you jump on, just like this whole thing with me doing my lecture came about because of Hillman TikTok. Hillman TikTok was something that, so many people asked and looked around and said, okay, well, what is Hillman TikTok? What does it do? How do we go about it? You create a syllabus, you got to sign up, you need to register, you need all this fun. But it started off as fun and then it turned serious. So I love it that we are still learning. So comment, like, share, subscribe, let other people know that I'm on here Tuesday nights, 6 o'clock is when we will have the course, okay? The syllabus is located out there. You will have reading assignments every week. You will have comments that on YouTube, and that's at Leadership 101 hyphen 22. You are the leader that we need. You are the leader that we need in our community. We need people who's going to stand up for justice, who's going to make the best decisions for us, and who's going to look out for the best for the community. Okay. So, another area that we need to talk about as we develop the importance of being the leader that we want to see, we have to think about, okay, what is the purpose of having a unified community? The purpose of having a unified community is being able to ensure that you have a voice, okay? If you have a thought about something, but no one else does, you have to realize that people want to get that information, glean that information, and want to be, but personal, okay? So if you, I don't know how old you are, just shout out how old you are, whatever. But one thing I recommend as leaders is get therapy. Therapy is important for a leader because as a leader, you need to get therapy to resolve any issues you may have so that those leading you won't will have a leader they can have confidence in, will have a leader that's positive, will have a leader that knows how to support them as a leader. So what are you doing in the community? Comment below. What do you feel your role is at this giving time in the community? Were you called to that role? Were you asked to be in that role? Are you volunteering for a position that you didn't want to be in? Okay, so those are questions you can ask. So here's the question. Emotional intelligence is what we discussed, how to compartmentalize. I want you to talk about how you can begin a journal. Okay, so a journal for someone who's leading is really important. And the reason why journaling is important is because as you write down things, your mind can take it from your paper into the out of your mind into the paper into reality. So you should journal. Any journal will work. If you have my book, Awaken the Leader from Within, down on Amazon, at the end of every chapter, you have the opportunity to have feedback. So at the end of chapter 2, it talks about list your chapter reflections, talk about your leadership styles. How did you become a leader? What makes you a leader? If you are a leader, why are you effective? So think back to the question I asked for tonight. Who is a leader that you look up to? What makes them worthy of being the leader that you look up to? What makes them the person who you're like, oh, you're such a great leader. Oh, you're such what do you think? Okay. So think about what makes you a leader. How can you emulate that? How can you be the leader that you want to see? If you want a leader, be a leader who's compassionate, who's giving, who's honest, who's fair, then that is something that you should reflect on. What kind of leader do you want to be?